What's on, where, and when. It's the Talk of Nelson. Talk Nelson Radio.
Welcome to Summer Sport, where we cover off what is happening in summer sport right around the Nelson Tasman region. Joining me is my co-host, Les Edwards.
Good morning to you, Chris, and welcome to the show, Jeff.
Yes, that's right. Our very special guest is Jeff Wright, who is the manager of the Nelson Mountain Bike Club. So great to have you here, mate.
Yeah, cheers for having us, dude.
We're one short at the moment because PB's busy on the Christmas rounds, but he's going to be joining us not too far away to take us through what's happening with cricket. So, and a few things happening with football as well. Before we go any further, Jeff, tell us a little bit about your background. Where do you come from? And
Yeah, so I'm from Otatahi, Christchurch. Kind of been jumping around the place a little bit for the last 10 years and have ended up in Nelson, sunny Nelson. Yeah.
So tell us about getting involved in mountain biking. Has that always been your main sport, or?
Not, it wasn't actually. I was more into football growing up, into team sports, and I guess I wanted to break out of the box a little bit, so to speak, and get into a bit of a fringe sport with a bit more freedom. I rode a lot growing up, spent a lot of time on two wheels, on motorbikes and on push bikes, and then in my sort of mid-20s ended up in Wanaka, where there's a pretty large mountain bike scene between there and Queenstown. Just picked up a bike, went into Sticky Forest and just started trying to give it a go, and I loved it. Yeah,
right. So in Canterbury, I know a couple of people down there, they tend to head off up to the Port Hills. Is that the place to be? Is that right?
Yeah. So they've got Christchurch Adventure Park in there. And the Port Hills, they got a bunch of riding all the way along, all the way out to Taylor's Mistake. They've even got trails that drop into there. But you've also got trails in Craigieburn, in Arthur's Pass, which are very popular. And I know that the club down there works pretty hard to keep trails like that running smoothly for everybody.
So Nelson, had you been up before your current position? Had you been up here before, or?
Yeah, I used to come up here as a teenager, over New Year's and things like that, and party it up and and have a bit of fun and enjoy the beaches and stuff. And then we were looking for a new place to live, and I was like, there's only one spot, especially in the South Island. It's got to be Nelson. Landed here, and the trail network was just mind blowing.
So with that, was Nelson Mountain Biking Club your club of choice? Did you join them before you got the job as general manager? How did that story come about?
Yeah, so obviously came into town, knew that I needed to join the club, and wanted to join the club, obviously. So joined the club. I was still working remote at that stage, and then the job came up. The old manager, Belinda, she stepped down and moved on to another role in the community. Just naturally wanted to be part of a non-for-profit. I'd worked in the mountain bike, in a few mountain bike companies prior, in all different fields, mechanicking and retail, design, and marketing. So across the board. So I gathered a bunch of skills, and then I was sort of like, well, it'd be fantastic to apply all of that to a non-for-profit with an epic following and an amazing community.
So how many members?
So we ticked over to 3,060 members yesterday.
Jeez,
so that's a big participation sport, isn't it? Probably third to football and rugby.
Yeah, well,
I would think it's a big number.
Someone told me a while ago, and I don't know how true this is, but it's one of the biggest mountain bike clubs in the world. Is that right?
Yeah, so for starters, we're the largest sports club in New Zealand.
Right.
Which is funny because it's a fringe sport from not a big city, and people would never guess it. Probably, a lot of people would probably say it's a football club in Auckland or something like that, but it's a mountain bike club in Nelson.
So it's got more members than any other sport.
More members than any other club in New Zealand.
Wow, how's that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing stat.
Yeah.
By a pretty
So
long
are
shot.
you a monopoly in Nelson? There's no other club.
Yeah, well, there is a couple of other smaller clubs,
Yeah.
but you're right. There's sort of one club, and it kind of works like that in mountain biking. There's not a lot of sort of multi-club rivalry or anything
Correct.
like
You
that.
don't have
from South.
multi-club events.
Yeah, we don't verse other clubs. It's very much an individual sport. So in a town, say Wanaka, say Queenstown, they all have one club and they all band together to essentially make the resources as good as possible for every individual in the club.
So how does a club make money? Is it do members pay a sub or do they pay for entry into events? How does it work?
Yeah, so we have multiple different revenue streams, I guess you'd call them.
Yes.
We have membership. It's a big one, and it's a fantastic way for the community to show how much they value the work that that the club does, and to feel part of something as well. We also apply for funding grants. So obviously I'm hired by the members to help find funding grants, and as well as the administrator as well, Mel. We both work to try apply for grants and obviously be successful and then bring in money to pay for safety or radios or trail maintenance or things like that.
Yeah, trail maintenance, is that a members working bee type arrangement, or do you get out there and repair some tracks?
Yeah, it's sort of a half and half. My time's probably actually better off spent on the keyboard, unfortunately. I'd love to get paid to work on trail, but we have a fantastic community who are always eager to get on the tools and fix trail or even build trail. But we also have professional trail builders and very good ones in town. So we're able to contract them, and I mean, when they work on trail, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, geez. I mean, that's the thing, because you've got the pleasure of doing the sport, but there's not too many sports that have to actually go and have working bees and dig their own tracks and those kind of things, is there? There's a lot of hard work behind the scenes.
Yeah, I guess that also brings up another point around, I mean, what myself and the administrator do is we do a lot of advocation. It's a lot of my role is trying to figure out where the long-term access for our community is going to be in town. We don't have football grounds that are always going to be there. You know, I live in Victory, and Victory's never moving. You know, Victory Square, it's going to be there, and it's got cricket in summer, and it's got football in winter, and but fringe sports always have to fight a little bit for their access. And in the past, it's definitely been there's probably definitely been a lot of trespassing from the mountain bike communities all across the world. But that culture is changing in mountain biking, and everything's going legal, kosher, and everything is the relationships are better with landowners.
So speaking of relationships, your relationships with iwi and with councils, is that a big part of your day?
Yeah, yep, definitely. We speak to iwi and mainly Ngāti Koata, who own a lot of the land up the Maitai, where we have a lot of trails, and we lease their land. And then obviously a part of the membership fee helps pay for that. But we also work with the council a lot, and we have positive relationships with both of them, which is really awesome. And from what I've heard from other clubs nationally and internationally, it's quite rare.
Oh, is that right? Suppose, I mean, one of the benefits too, obviously, is the sport does attract tourism into the region, and I remember being involved in some marketing, ideas and campaigns and some of the stats. In fact, when I worked with Belinda on Bike Nelson, Bike Fest Nelson, and when we were putting our proposals forward, we looked at economic benefit, and per head, a mountain biker spends more per head than any other tourist. I mean, they tend to be in that higher socio-economic group. Not all members are, obviously, but the tourist will travel, will bring bike, and will bring money to the region. So council obviously sees the benefit of that.
Yeah, the council know those numbers.
Yeah.
We've had economic reports written in the past, independent ones by Bill, and the council have these reports and obviously act accordingly on the data from these reports. And you're right, a mountain biker comes to town and spends on average probably $60 a day more than your standard tourist in town. We're looking at like $220 a day per person for a mountain bike tourist. And so you can imagine sort of the numbers of GDP that mountain bike tourism can bring into the area when the trail systems are maintained to the level that they are, and we have the amount of riding that we do here.
So you're talking before about the membership, 3,000 members, but where would you say the sport is at the moment? Is it is it in a good position? Is it reducing? Is it increasing?
Yeah, no, good question. It's club-wise, obviously, very positive.
Yeah.
If we're talking industry, things are a little different. There's been a boom and bust, so to speak. Obviously, through COVID, everyone had a little bit more spare time. People bought bicycles, mountain biking, all types of biking trended largely. And then people went back to their daily lives. Maybe the bike is gathering dust. Maybe they sold it. The numbers dropped off, but the demand in the industry, the demand went through the roof. So they're still recovering from that spike in interest in the sport.
Right. Yeah.
Things will level off nicely. I'd say they'll level off better than they were before. We'll be at a better level of participation in mountain biking and other sort of cycle sports. But it's nice to have a sustainable curve rather than a bit of a blip or a spike in the curve. It was definitely a curveball for the industry. Outside of that, the community's been fantastic, especially in Nelson. We're having really good reception with events that we're holding, and events can cover lots of different areas. Racing is obviously very popular and quite noticeable in the community, but other events like, as you say, like maintaining trails, that's still an event. It's still a way to bring the community together, and they love it. We'll put a barbie on afterwards, and sometimes we get 60, 70 people showing up.
Wow.
Sometimes with their own tools, sometimes they borrow our tools, and they get into it, and we get quite a bit of work done when there's that many numbers.
Yeah. Good workout, Les, isn't it?
Yeah, it would be. I watch these bikers going past my place at heading to the brook, and they're fit. It must be a good workout. Challenges for the club, other than just continuing to sustain and build on membership. Any significant other challenges for you?
Yeah, so a big challenge for a lot of non-for-profit organizations right now is funding. I think times were quite good maybe a few years ago. Maybe there was a bit more money around. Maybe there was less non-for-profits. Now there's probably less money. What we're being told is there's almost half the amount of money from some of the grants, but there's more non-for-profits. So that's something that we grapple with on a daily basis, and we talk about quite a lot. The committee is always trying to figure out where they're going to get the money from to keep the ball rolling, to keep the trails up to the standard that they need to be safe, and to be a fantastic asset for the community, but also from domestic and international tourists. Other challenges that we have are adverse weather.
Yeah, yes, that's right.
As we all know.
Yeah.
And when you've got trail systems, so we've been recovering from adverse weather event from August last year, and we're still recovering. Luckily, we did receive a large grant from NZCT, and we're still very thankful for that. They gave us a nice pocket of money to be able to work specifically to open trails for the community again. That only goes so far. So we are still using community involvement to reopen and help the trail system recover from that pretty substantial event. It was devastating, really.
Yeah, I bet it was.
And Queenstown sort of just had the same thing, and they're in the full recovery mode as well.
Yeah, well, my golf club is Wahitaka.
Yeah,
and it got severely damaged twice, and I know your trails there did, but it's great to hear the noise coming out of Charlene's track now that you've got them repaired. It sounds like you guys have a huge amount of fun, so I'm pleased that NZCT came to the party to get you guys back on operating.
Yeah, it's fantastic to have that support from the grants. Another big challenge is barriers to entry. We all sort of know that to buy equipment can be expensive. We have quite advanced trails in Nelson, and so it's not essential, but it's almost essential to have a full suspension mountain bike.
How much?
It can range from $2,500 to $25,000.
That is a barrier.
Yeah, that's right.
And we see that as a big challenge because we want to see more young people out there on the trails with their parents or with their friends.
Have you thought of any solutions to that? Is there an easy fix, or is it just going to be people have to be able to afford it to bike?
Well, it's one of those things, and it currently feels like a sport that when you reach the working age, you can prioritize your income to what you like, right? So whether you're 16 and you're working away and you're chipping away at doing whatever, you can prioritize that money to buy the car, or you could prioritize that money to buy your new bike. But things get a whole lot easier when you enter sort of the adult world, and you start working. Maybe it's post university, and it was exactly the same for me. 25, I was out of university, I was in the workforce, and I was like, okay, I've now got enough money so I can prioritize that towards a bike. But that was 25 years of my life, that I rode basic bikes, but I didn't get to ride mountain bikes. So we want to try to find ways to get young people on bikes earlier and experiencing the joys of the trail network here in Nelson.
So tell us about some of the projects that you are hoping to achieve in the future.
Yeah, so we've got a few biggies. Obviously, we've got lots of stuff going on all the time, little micro things, whether it's just organizing a smaller event or trail maintenance. But as bigger projects go, and exciting ones, we've been allocated a little bit of room at the start of the copper mine and sort of in the Codgers Reserve to build a skills area for beginner and younger riders. This will help people who maybe are a little bit more afraid to hit the trails to just practice a few of the features in a controlled environment.
It's a great idea.
Mm.
ACC will love you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. But also give a chance for kids on balance bikes to roll around, and different sized bikes up until you basically want to get into the Codgers network and start developing skills at speed. So that's one of the projects. Another project close to my heart as well is Inclusive Trails Nelson. This came out of a seminar that I went to with Jezza at Making Tracks. Absolute legend. And he opened my eyes to how there are unnecessary barriers to a lot of people in the community to do sports and actually to do normal things day to day. So that really has pushed me to try find resources to open up our network and make it more inclusive, and make the member base more diverse, so that we can be riding next to people on adaptive bikes, or simply people with e-bikes don't have to carry their bike, which can be sometimes 30 kgs over an unnecessary barrier. For example, top of Tandragee saddle. If you have a 30 kg bike and you can't lift 30 kgs, how do you pass through? So that's a barrier to entry, but there's also other barriers to entry for adaptive bikes, which may have 4 or 3 wheels. In a few years' time, I'd be very proud if I could ride behind, beside, or in front of an adaptive bike on Nelson Trails.
So tell us about the e-bike revolution. So has that had a major impact on the sport?
Massive.
For you guys? Massive.
Yeah. It's not come without its I don't know. People have had maybe a strange perception of e-bikers, but now a lot of those people are on e-bikes.
So it's not true that you get. So the thing is, you're not really a true mountain biker unless if you're getting help up the hill, or even if you're going on the trails, which traditionally for the peddlers, they might have first thought, what's going on there.
Well, I think there was a grey area in the scene where there was electric mountain bikes, of which you didn't have to pedal.
Yeah.
It's now been categorized as pedal assist. So you have to pedal. And there's bikes that allow you to pedal more and pedal less, and there's just a small amount of assistance, or there's a lot of assistance. So there's a gray areas, and the gap between normal bikes, or acoustic bikes as people like to say, and e-bikes is blurring a lot these days.
Yeah, right.
It fits in with your vision of being sustainable, not sustainable, inclusive. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's got to be encouraged and accepted by all members.
Oh, and people are getting huge amounts of Kaiser. They're just everyone who owns a pedal assist bike comes back and they go, I ride 3 times more than I did when I had an acoustic bike. So it's doing great things for the sport.
Speaking of big challenges, is the club still part of the Pergola vision?
No, we're not actively part of a project involving a gondola. We would definitely support a gondola in Nelson or in the top of the south. But there's a lot of private
being driven by other people.
That's probably going to be driven by private entities, I would say, who would be doing feasibility studies.
There was a gondola organisation or trust, and also local iwi who owned the land were involved in a business case as well, and they did put all that forward. But I think they're going to need some assistance from government, and so
it's on the back burner.
Well, yeah, it's I don't know where it's at the moment, because it had quite a hiss and a roar for there for a little bit, but they definitely were going to need extra support as well.
But mountain bikers would welcome it.
Once
it happened, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it would really change the landscape around here, especially in the tourism sector.
Mm.
A lot of tourists probably don't come to Nelson, maybe because there's not a lift. There's two or three locations in New Zealand that have pretty good plane access to them. They have a lift. A lot of, say, Australian and maybe New Zealand domestic tourists are choosing to fly to Nelson because there is a lift. Not to Nelson, to Queenstown, because there is a lift. There's also a lift in Rotorua and Christchurch.
Yeah.
Do they have the trail network that Nelson has? Some of them do. Is it as technical and unique as it is here? Maybe not. But we play to our strengths. We're very much a pedal your own, earn your berms, and pedal your own kind of fun here in Nelson.
Earn your berms.
Earn your berms, yeah. And if a lift happens, it happens. If it doesn't, people will just keep pedaling their bikes.
Yeah,
it may help the DH scene in Nelson, which is something that isn't as prevalent as it is in say Rotorua or Queenstown. You can't really pedal a downhill bike. You can for a very short period of time on the flat, but they're very heavy downhill orientated bikes that the geometry just isn't. It's not great for pedaling. So
all up to gravity.
Yeah,
so hard to get up.
Yeah, very difficult. Yeah,
to get down.
They're very much a push your way up and ride very quickly on the way down.
Tell us about some of the events that are coming up. Obviously, there's the Dodsey this weekend, but what else is on the books?
Yeah, fantastic. It's going to be a fantastic weekend for the whole Dodsey crew. It's going to be their finale this weekend, and a lot of people are extremely excited to show up, race, but also just feel the good vibes of the Dodsey Memorial. And it's a shame I can't be at it this weekend, unfortunately. But if I was in town, I would be there, either racing or just having a great time.
And this is a memorial for a mountain biker that was quite prevalent in the scene.
Yes, yeah, for James Dodds. Didn't know him personally.
No, yeah.
But yeah, fantastic for a man like that to have 10 years of memorial racing to remember him by.
And last one.
And the last one.
Yeah.
Other events that are coming up, we have a few more what we call Super Ds, which are a sort of one and done kind of race. You bike to the top, you're given the course, and you've got one run to get your fastest time. It's a fantastic community event. It's been getting big numbers, between 150 and sort of 220 riders every time. It's every second week. So we've got those last two races coming up, which is going to be awesome. We have a club day at the Wairoa Gorge, which is going to be cool. That's on the 16th of December. That's a koha day. So the idea is to show up with your family, pay a donation, and just enjoy the park for the day, and hop on a shuttle, check out the accommodation, swim in the river, just enjoy the surroundings that is the Wairoa Gorge, and hopefully it helps draw more members out to the Wairoa Gorge to enjoy it on a regular basis.
Nice.
Yeah, aside from that, next year we've got the National Enduro. It's Cable Bay, so the sort of championship. It's the kind of penultimate event for enduro racing in New Zealand. It was held there last year. It was a great success, and it's going to be held there again this year. And I'm guessing they're going to turn it on again. So that's super exciting. And another major event that we have in town here is the Mammoth. So that's another enduro style event. And so you can sort of see there's a bit of a trend in Nelson around what events that we have. And enduro is definitely sort of top of it. people are good at pedaling in Nelson, and they're also pretty swift on the downhill.
Right. Oh, it's good. So it's going to be a busy summer ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely going to be a busy summer for the events team.
Great.
Myself and our administrator Mel, we support the events team wherever possible with advertising, promoting, trying to do some groundwork for the events. But like shout out to all the volunteers
Yeah.
who show up like time and time again to just to help out, stand on the side of the trail, marshal, medic, help in the base camp. It's unbelievable at the events to see just community involvement on such a wide sort of level, I guess.
Yeah, great. Well, Jeff, really appreciate you coming in, mate. It's fantastic to see that the club's in a good space, in large numbers. That's huge, and it's such a big sport in this region, and obviously with the environment that we have, it's fantastic that we're able to utilise that and get out and enjoy the wilderness. So. And hopefully keep fit too, which is the main thing.
Yeah.
Wave to the golfers on Waihi as you ride past.
We've often talked about mountain biking on the show and the fact that that's where a lot of people are going to for their recreation. So, well done. You're running a good club, obviously.
Yeah, good stuff.
Awesome.
And good luck with the events program coming up.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Hey, thanks for having us.
Right, you're a summer sport, and just like magic, there he is. PB's arrived during the Christmas rush.
Oh, look, the tide has turned. People are starting to spend money, and I'm just a bit busy today, and it's actually turning into a hot day. It's supposed to get up to 24, but then I hear there's a cold snap coming.
Oh, apparently on Friday, they reckon.
And that's no good because I'm off to Mangarakau. Which, does anyone know where that is?
No idea.
Top of the west coast. So it should be cold there.
And why are you going there? The whitebait season's over, isn't it?
Well, because I had a birthday a couple of weeks ago. A mate of mine booked that house there. It's an old dock house. It's got hot water. It's got power. It sleeps 24 and it's got a double bed upstairs.
Jeez.
He booked it and it's $20 per person a night. He booked it ages ago. And can I get out of that? No. So I'm dragged along with a few lads. So I'll be over there for a couple of days. So if you don't see me again,
you'll be in the where?
We'll be in the old swamp because it looks over the swamp of the West Haven Inlet.
Right.
Lovely piece of the country. I actually went to Patarau there last year, and a lot of hippies, a lot of naked people, but really nice until the storm came in from Australia, and then we got pelted with rain. But
wow, so
well, I hope they're giving you the double bed, PB. So.
Yeah, no, apparently I am. So yeah, all good.
Well in the wilderness. Good stuff. All right, let's check out the Nelson Softball Association draw for this week. And at Diamond 3, 10 a.m., we've got the USC Astros taking on Waimea Intermediate development games. Diamond 1, 12 o'clock, Marist Wairua. And the girls have got to give you results, don't they, Les?
Well, yeah, and a shout out to Duck. Please put your results on your Facebook page.
Versus the Purple Eagles. Diamond 1 again, at 2 o'clock, the USC Blackhawks taking on the USC R&B. Diamond 2, 12 o'clock, we've got the USC Pirates taking on USC Cardinals. That's in the senior men. And 2 o'clock, the USC Pirates taking on the USC Titans. And Lansdowne Park at Diamond 1, 12 o'clock, the Saints Rams taking on the Stoke Eagles. And 2 o'clock, the Saints Rams taking on the Stoke Eagles again in a double header.
Yeah, well, that's a good bus trip, isn't it, for the Stoke Eagles to go over there and have a hit.
It's going to be a tough outing for them because Saints Rams are the form team, apparently.
So the games take about 90 minutes, do they? Softball?
Yeah, that was always the thing. I started playing cricket at school, but softball was an hour and a half and you were out of there. So I started playing softball.
Oh, I agree.
But in hindsight, I quite enjoy cricket. I wished I actually played because I'd like to get back into it, actually.
Well, the thing about cricket these days is that I played a bit last year for the Wakatu Thirds and they just played 40 over games.
Ah, right. Okay.
And I was actually talking to Mark Gill at the weekend. Of course, they played Wanderers out at Upper Mootry, and of course, both teams wanted to bat first, but Wanderers actually won the toss batter first and all that for 79. So the game was all over in about 90 minutes.
So there you go.
So those games are okay.
Yeah. Well, they didn't really have that nowadays. It was either one day or 2 days. So it was a full weekend every weekend.
Oh, look, I remember playing for Nelson against Marlborough. It was about 30 degrees at Horton Park. We bowled all day, and it was just unbearable on a flat deck. We got 400 and something on the Saturday, and they actually got them on the Sunday.
Right.
So you can imagine what the sort of state I was in at the end of it. I was grumpy. The umpires were cheating, and we lost to Marlborough. So and the heat at Horton, Venom's like in the middle of summer.
Yeah.
God almighty. I struggled to sleep for a couple of days. I reckon I got heat stroke. Bowled 39 overs, and I couldn't lift my arm up for another 2 days after that. But never mind.
Senior men's cricket, and we got some results from last week, which was day 2, end of day 2, wasn't it?
Yes, well, Wakatu played Athletic College Old Boys, and look, the ACOB not looking too flash this year, son.
Yeah.
All out for 83 and all out for 126. Wakatu 193 for 9 declared, so they only need 17 to win. So that's a pretty comprehensive victory for the Wakatu boys, and of course that's the big derby game in town. And 2 famous clubs there, Wakatu, and taking the win there. Wolves Wanderers Motueka against the Waimea Toi Tigers. Looks like that was an innings victory for the Wolves.
Yeah,
183 all out. Wolves in progress, is it? What's going on here?
Yeah, I don't know.
All out for 81, and then 5 for 59 was their rain.
20th.
Well, gentlemen, the date
don't
of
think
this
so.
round 4 is the 11th of November.
No,
Well, that's-
18th of.
Yeah,
So it's a 2 day.
Yeah.
So last weekend
Oh,
was
they-
the end of the second day.
yeah,
So I don't know either. They didn't update the progress, or I
yeah.
don't think there was rain last weekend. It was
No.
full sun.
But see, Nelson College got a bit of a battering there, all out for 46 in the first innings.
Yeah.
Stoke Nayland 193 for 5 declared, and of course College all out for 107. So comprehensive wins there for Stoke, and they also won on first innings. So have you got the points table there, Chris?
No, I couldn't
No.
see where that was up to at the moment. So we'll try and get that next week. But there is a draw for this weekend, which is day 1 of the next round of the 2-day comp. This is the last round, is it?
It's the last round
days?
of 2-day competition, because they play around. I think they join the Blenheim teams for a 1-day competition.
Right.
They have their own round of 2 days, and they also, I think, they play a 2020 comp as well. So there's a lot of cricket to be played.
Yeah.
But, this is the last round of the 2-day competition.
So we've got Nelson College versus Waimea Toi. And then we've got Wakatu taking on Wolves, and we've got Athletic College Old Boys taking on Stoke Nayland. So that'd be quite a good game, wouldn't it? Stoke Old Boys and Stoke Nayland.
Well,
Strong teams.
Well, College Old Boys are struggling, aren't they? Athletic College are getting well turned over by Wakatu.
I see. So Wakatu and Stoke are the two
Stoke Nayland, but
leading ones.
obviously a big day for Athletic College Old Boys, because it's one of their players, Glenn Bomfield's 40th.
Oh, right.
And he's been a great stalwart for the club. I think he does everything: secretary, plays, president. What else? What other names you got?
Bottle watcher.
Sponsorship manager,
Yeah.
groundsman, young horse. So it's his 40th this week. So good luck to him for his birthday.
Yeah.
And good luck to the team.
Looking around at national games around the country, and we get to see the Central Stags this weekend on Saturday. It's a 1-day match against Northern Districts, 10:30 a.m. Yeah, start.
Well, I think we're the current champions.
Right.
So that'll be a good game.
Yep.
Boy, it's on a Saturday when you got club cricket as well. It begs to differ. You know, you should be scheduling games around trying to get people there.
Well, if it's a 1-day match, you'd probably think you'd do it on a Sunday, wouldn't you? But
it's at 10:30, and that's when the club cricket sort of starts at 10:30, 11. So it's exactly the same time. So I don't. The scheduling of games, have it on a Sunday. We're going into not the holiday season, but a Sunday, it's a quiet day. You get all those cricketers there watching it. So what are you going to have there? It's Saxon's over 5 man and a dog.
Yeah, whereas you could have 6 teams there.
Yeah. So on Sunday, the Central Hinds take on the Auckland Hearts, and that's at Kennards Hire Community Oval for the Halliburton Johnson Shield, and that's a women's 1-day match. And Auckland, top of the table, Central Hinds second. So that'll be a strong match.
Very good.
And then on Wednesday, 29th, the Central Stags take on Canterbury in a one-day match at Pukakura Park.
Pukakura Park, New Plymouth. Well, that's a better day.
Wednesday.
That's on a Wednesday. And of course, Pukakura Park. Don't know if you've been there, Les.
I have.
Fantastic ground.
I've matches there.
Yeah, I played football there once, and it's a funny ground. It's surrounded by a garden.
Small.
Beautiful embankment.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw Dennis Lilly play there.
Did you?
Off his long long run up before he went shorter run up. I saw New Zealand play Fiji there. I used to live in Taranaki, so Pukakura Park was a great place to go and visit for a game of cricket.
Small ground.
Yes, very much so.
The National League football grand finals are on Sunday. The men's final kickoff at 1:00 and the women's at 4 p.m. And it's basically the reserve order of the double in the double header for the Kate Shepherd Cup and the Chatham Cup final. So, well, that's not right, is it? Because who did Canterbury play in the Chatham Cup? That was Auckland, wasn't it?
Christchurch United won the Chatham Cup. They beat Melville.
Yes, I don't know what they're going on about there. Maybe for the Kate Shepherd Cup. But it looks as though in the women's game, Auckland United will be taking on Southern United.
That's a great result for the Southern girls.
Yeah. And because they had a win on the weekend. And in the men's draw, Wellington Olympic end up winning the minor premiership because Auckland FC, I don't know whether they was it Auckland United, Auckland City. Oh no, mate, I've got that wrong because
Auckland City lost to Christchurch.
That's right.
3-2, but they might have rested a few players.
Well, that's what I wondered, because they sacrificed a minor premiership for maybe a win in the grand final.
They did have a player sent off, which would have helped Christchurch United. But they've bounced back from recent bad results, Christchurch United.
Yeah, they have.
So Mr. Eiffel's done a good job. Done a good job of them finishing they got third in the end.
Yes. Yeah. And then he's off to Wellington Olympic. So anyway, the final 1:00 on Sunday, Wellington Olympic versus Auckland City FC. So double header. So it's all go in Auckland. The A-League, Wellington Phoenix are taking on Melbourne City FC on Saturday, 4:30 p.m. So they'll be trying to continue their good form. And Wellington women, they have to go all the way to Perth. So unfortunately going down 1-0 to Coastal, wasn't it?
Is this not a double header?
No.
Okay.
And
the men's are playing in Eden Park this week, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're in Auckland.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a festival of football weekend, they're calling it. But yeah, Wellington women, unfortunately, just going down.
Yeah, lost to Western United 1-0. Very unlucky.
Yeah, that's right. And then having to do that big trip over to Perth, who are sitting at top of the table. So that's going to be a tough gig.
Well, they reckon in professional leagues throughout the world, this is the longest away trip.
Yeah, right.
in any league.
Because it must be about a 5-hour flight or something. Like that,
I did
from Sydney.
Auckland to Perth once. It was 6 hours.
Yeah.
So that's the longest away trip. So even in the United States, because they've got the conferences, they don't have to travel that far unless it comes to the playoffs. But that trip there, it's a long travel for a away game.
Yeah, and if it's going to be a hot day, could be 38 degrees or something.
Well, you never know.
So if the women are heading to Perth and playing at 7:15 p.m., they've done the timing so that we can watch it.
We can watch both. That's right.
Good stuff.
Which is great. And yeah, a bit of controversy in the Premier League at the moment. Everton getting in a bit of trouble.
Well, the trouble with Everton, they've been quite transparent about their business, and it's quite funny because Man City are in trouble, so are Chelsea. There's 115 charges against Man City, but what they're saying is saying, well, there's our lawyers, you go and sort it. Look, there's that much money gets traded in that particular professional league.
Yeah,
Everton's come out and said, well, we've overspent. We've done it so they've been fined. Where Man City and there's other things probably fiddling the books for years and years, but you've got to prove it. Well, I just think, they're just been a bit too honest, Everton. So they've lost their 10 points. And, of course, these other teams like Leeds, who got relegated, and Southampton got relegated, well, they're going in for £100 million because they spent more money than they should have done, and we got relegated because we could have spent that money as well, but we're under our budget. So it's a bit of a shambles and a bit of a thing, but I don't think they'll get relegated. You know, the teams down there are going to struggle. The Sheffield United's, Burnleys, and I think
a long way to go, and they'll climb their way back.
It's only 10 points. They're back in there now, but I think they're good enough because they've got a good squad and they've been going quite good. But I see they've got Man United this weekend, so it's not to come back and it'll fire them up.
Yeah, well, that's it. Might be the catalyst.
The coach will say, "Look, take it on the chin. Let's show us that we can, you know." And but yeah, look, big money over there, isn't it? It just seems to be ridiculous.
Massive money.
And they're being too honest.
Aussie win the One Day World Cup.
Oh, wasn't that an amazing game? And I was watching it with an Aussie visitor at home. And when the toss went up, you know, we're going, oh, Aussie must bat, put the runs on the board. And when Cummins won the toss and called bowl, the crowd laughed. And I must admit, we were going, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
As did Ricky Ponting and every other pundit. So what a wonderful piece of captaincy by Cummins to make that call. And after 10 overs, they looked like they were in a bit of strife, but it all paid off.
Yeah, it did.
Well, look, the thing is, finally a team's bowled properly against the Indians, you know, bowling in the right areas. And like, if you look at any attack in the world, Hazelwood, Stark, Cummins, three-prong attack, they're the best in the world. And they get it right, they'll go through you. And they bowl particularly well. You know, he's done well, that Cummins as captain.
Yeah.
Well, he's won 2 trophies in a year, right?
Really impressed. You know, you don't normally have a bowler as a captain in cricket, but he's come on board and done particularly well. And
and he got Virat Kohli's wicket.
Yeah.
You know, that's what a captain has to step up sometimes just to inspire the troops.
It's funny, they lost their first 2 games and everyone was writing them off. I wonder what the bookies were paying at the TAB then. And it's a bit like Argentina in the World Cup. They lost to Saudi Arabia first up and went on to win the World Cup. Aussie did the same in the Cricket World Cup. So, but India just didn't get enough runs. You know, 240. They needed 300 at least just to have a chance. But
talking about Cummins again, he made so many bowling changes over after over. He brought a different bowler on, and that just got India out of a rhythm. It was just a really good performance.
Well, a couple of times he threw the ball to Rich Mitchell Marsh and he bowled 2 overs and did all right. He gave a couple of overs to Travis Head. He did all right. And then young Travis Head come in and smashed it.
Didn't he? I mean, I haven't heard too much about him. I guess I haven't been taking much notice of the Aussies because they haven't really been in the limelight too much, you know.
Well,
and this Travis Head turns up and he's just, I just think he's a fantastic batsman.
Well, he did the same against India in that cricket. It's quite funny. They're playing India, I think, tonight or tomorrow in a 2020 game, and of course he's actually he's unavailable,
right?
Because he's still hungover. That's what
so he scored a century in that T20 final too, didn't he?
Yeah, no, he scored a century in the Test final.
In the Test final,
yeah. I know Travis Head. He's just they always find them, those Aussies.
Shane Warne did a tweet 2016 saying this Travis Head will be an important part of Australia for years to come.
Because he can bowl a bit too, can't he?
Yes.
Spin bowler as well.
Yeah.
And Daniel Vettori, the Australian bowling coach. So that was I saw an article during the week come out talking about that. So obviously Kiwis had to put something on it, but it's interesting that Daniel's right in there amongst it. Doing some good work, obviously. Yeah. Well, congratulations to the Aussies. And I'd have to say, Cummins, he has done a good job because, I mean, they were in dire straits, just basically with the way that they used to react towards opposition, the way they carried themselves, the way they performed, and all those kind of things. And he's basically, taken all that away and just said, well, we don't need to be like that, and we're going to be good sports people, and we're going to play hard and fair, and it's paid off dividends.
Yeah, well, that's right. When I was Smith captain there for a while, the ball tampering, you get nicked out. They're telling people to, away you go, son. They just chirp me.
Which was that traditional Aussie aggressive style around trying to get inside your head, which is fine, but it just tipped over too far and people got sick of it. Well, and he's been able to re-establish them.
Well, you can tell how bad they are when you got Simon O'Donnell, he's on a radio show, and he's saying to the Kiwis, why would you help Virat Kohli? Because he's got cramp.
Yeah, I know.
We're just helping the guy out, mate. He's got a bit of cramp. And in fact, one of their players helped Daryl Mitchell with cramp.
Yeah.
That's what you do, It's like the game's changed.
Yeah.
in all sports.
And it's meant to be the gentleman's game. And
It is.
But anyway, I thought, good on him because he has brought back a bit of decorum to the Aussie side.
Yeah, and good coaching from that the redhead McDonald.
Andrew McDonald, yep.
So he's a big change for them, and I think that he and Cummins together have decided that it doesn't need to be
And
a
they've
bunch of dickheads.
You
playing the game.
don't hear a lot about coaches in cricket. They tend to sit back. It's more run by the captain. But Gary Stead, you don't hear much from him. You didn't used to hear much from Hesson. You always used to hear from Kane Williamson and senior players. And it's the same with the Aussies. You know, if you ask someone on the street, you follow who's the coach of the Australian cricket team, they wouldn't probably know.
That's right.
You know, so it's good on them. And poor old India.
I know. In front of their home crowd. they were
100,000 there or something.
Yeah.
Well, it is what it is. You didn't get enough runs, son.
Yeah, that's right. They didn't. All right. Things on this weekend, and it's the pub run. It's the McCashin's pub run. You meet at McCashin's Brewery, Main Road, Stoke. It's just an undulating new course, so you won't know where you're going. Just a lazy 7.5K.
And there's Colin Lott there at the tap room. He'll put on a great after run function, I'm sure.
Great stuff. The race start is 3:45 for walkers and early runners, and 4 p.m. start for others. And that's it, gentlemen. Thank you very much for
What about
joining
Liz's
us.
rugby story?
What did you have something on rugby?
It was just a report by New Zealand Rugby talking about participation. And 2023 was the first full season without any interferences since COVID. And
yes.
Participation is up. And by reasonable percentages, especially amongst the female game. So I thought that was, worth noting that kids are still playing the game, adults are still playing the game, and females are really embracing the game. And I would suspect that's on the back of the Black Fern success and really good people like Ruby Tui presenting, an authentic front to the game.
I was interested listening to Carlos Spencer during the week because this the Super Rugby competition with the girls.
Yep.
Just not long enough, is it?
No, not enough teams at the moment. So
why don't they play 2 rounds?
Yes, they shouldn't they?
Yeah, I know. It's
They play 5 games or something, 5 or 6 games.
Is it 5?
Something like that.
Yeah.
There's not many.
And the NPC women's is not
Very
that
quick.
very long as well either.
Yeah, very quick. Yeah.
And maybe that's a financial thing. I don't know, but you'd expect 2 rounds at least. I mean, they play a couple of rounds and then it's the semis.
The trouble is when we played England a couple of weeks ago, we got battered.
Yeah, we did.
They play more games.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's all about playing.
Well, I think they talked about the women's professional game, and it needs to come in more, and that's what France and England have got. They play regularly, they're together more, so we've got to bring it into our game, or we're going to lose them to league. So,
do they not? They don't. Obviously, the women's amalgamate with the Queenslands, the New South Wales. That's not happening yet. So,
No, as I understand it,
so it must be a financial thing.
Yeah, Super Rugby, five franchises.
Yeah.
So you can only get 4 games if you have 1 round, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is.
Carlos was saying about it the other day.
Yeah.
He said it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And they're good athletes. 2 rounds would be superb.
Well, you're going to lose them if you don't come up with.
Well, the only good thing about that is that it's like Sonny Bill's sister. She can go and play league, and then come back and play rugby.
Yeah.
So they have that crossover. So they get away with that because you got time.
But if you've got league laying on the contracts, each season saying, well, we'd like you to stay with us.
The seasons don't.
No, they don't
interfere,
which is wonderful.
But it's a wee bit of a different game, and it doesn't seem right. I'm off playing league there, then all of a sudden I'm coming back to play rugby there. It seems a wee bit Mickey Mouse. New Zealand Rugby need to have a good look at it and do something about it. They need to play more games.
I just want to see the best players, so I've got no problem with it.
Yeah.
And it'll be worth watching this year. Really worth watching. I think that, and we'll talk about it during the shows. We'll get the draw next week, and we'll have a look at what's happening with their competition.
Vern Marden next week from
Nice.
Athletics Nelson, legend of the Nelson Tasman sports scene. So he'd just been out to catch some fish. So I told him to bring some in. So he's next week. So it'd be great to talk to him.
There's plenty of snapper out there, apparently.
Yeah, there is. There is.
I was talking to Toby Munro down at Trailways. He went out there last week. I've got plenty.
Yeah, no, apparently there is, but they won't tell you where the spots are. Thanks to my co-host Paul Bryden, Les Edwards, and our special guest Jeff Wright, General Manager of the Nelson Mountain Bike Club. If you have any summer sports notices to push in the show, just comment or message on the Talk Nelson Facebook page. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you again next week.
What's on, where, and when? It's the Talk of Nelson. Talk Nelson Radio.